The Great Auk, Penguinus impennis, also referred to as the penguin or gairfowl, is an extinct species of flightless alcid. It first appeared approximately 400,000 years ago and became extinct in the mid-19th century. The Great Auk represented the only surviving member of the genus Penguinus. The Great Auk was not closely related to the penguins of the southern hemisphere. Penguins were named due to their resemblance to auks. Measuring between 30 and 33 inches in height and weighing around 11 pounds, the Great Auk was the largest alcid species of the modern era. Its plumage was characterized by a black back and white underparts. Some surviving alcids are the black guillemot, the razorbill, the Atlantic puffin, the dovekey, and the murre birds. Its black beak was robust, hooked, and grooved. In summer, the species displayed distinctive white eye patches, which were replaced during the winter by a white band extending between the eyes. With wings only 6 inches long, flight was impossible. However, the Great Auk was highly adapted for swimming and ocean hunting. Its primary diet included fish such as Atlantic menhaden, caplin, and various crustaceans. Aquatic adaptation was evident in the species' powerful swimming technique. Using wings underwater with the head elevated and neck retracted, remarkable maneuverability allowed for banking, veering, and rapid underwater acceleration. The Great Auk could dive to depths of 250 feet, and claims exist of dives exceeding 3,300 feet or 550 fathoms. Most dives, however, remain shallow. It could also reportedly hold its breath for up to 15 minutes, which surpasses seals. The ability to accelerate underwater facilitated leaping onto rocky ledges directly from the sea. The The Great Auk inhabited cold North Atlantic coastlines, including those of Canada, the northeastern United States, Norway, Greenland, Iceland, the Faroe Islands, Ireland, Great Britain, France, and the Iberian Peninsula. Fossil evidence reveals that their range once extended into southern France, Italy, and other Mediterranean areas. The species was particularly common on the Grand Banks of Newfoundland. In recorded history, the Great Auk's southernmost range in winter was Massachusetts Bay. Remains have been found as far south as Florida, possibly due to indigenous trade. With dated occurrences at 4 distinct periods. Isolated bones located in Madeira and Morocco's Neolithic El Harhor II site marks its southernmost points in the eastern Atlantic. The Great Auk left marine environments for land solely for breeding purposes, roosting at sea outside of nesting season. Nesting colonies, or rookeries, ranged from Baffin Bay, Greenland, to the Gulf of St. Lawrence, Canada. Across the North Atlantic, including Iceland, Norway, and the British Isles, Great Auks had very specific requirements for their rookeries. They needed rocky islands with sloping shores near rich feeding grounds, yet distant from predators. These requirements likely resulted in no more than 20 historic breeding colonies. Only 7 former breeding locations are presently known. These requirements likely resulted in no more than 20 historic colonies. Only 7 former breeding locations are presently known, including Papa Westray, one of the Orkney Islands, and the St. Kilda Archipelago, Scotland, Grimsley Island, Edley Island, Geirfuglaster Iceland, also known as Great Auk Rock, Funk Island, Newfoundland, and the Bird Rocks, Gulf of St. Lawrence, Canada. There's also evidence suggested possibly breeding on Cape Cod, Massachusetts. By the late 18th and early 19th centuries, breeding was restricted to Funk Island, Grimsley Island, Edley Island in the Gulf of St. Lawrence, and the St. Kilda Group, with Funk Island hosting the largest colony. On land, great auks moved slowly, sometimes utilizing their wings for assistance across difficult terrain. They ran awkwardly with short steps. Natural predation was limited, with threats mainly from large marine mammals like orcas and white-tailed eagles. Polar bears would prey upon nesting birds. Humans hunted the great auk for food, feathers, and later for museum specimens and private collections. Though responsive to noise, great auks rarely reacted to mere visual disturbances. Aggressive use of the bill was observed in crowded nesting sites and when threatened. Life expectancy is estimated at 20 to 25 years. Winter migrations occurred in pairs or small groups, leading the species away from colonies, shifting southward in autumn and winter. While agile in water, the species was ungainly on land. Typically monogamous, pairs nested in densely populated rookeries, laying a single marbled egg directly on the rock. While the great auk is dead, there are close relatives remaining. This is the call of one of the mirror birds. Imagine a colony with hundreds or thousands of birds making this type of noise. It must have been deafening and amazing. Both parents participated in incubating the egg for roughly 6 weeks, after which the chick left the nest within 2 to 3 weeks but continued to receive parental care. Population declines during the Little Ice Age, 1300 to 1850 AD, may have resulted from increased predator access, notably polar bears, but unsustainable human exploitation for down was the primary cause. By the mid-16th century, most European colonies had vanished due to feather harvesting for bedding. Legal measures to conserve the species were put in place as early as 1553. And in 1794, Great Britain prohibited killing the great auk for its feathers. Enforcement included public punishment for violations, though hunting the auks for fishing bait persisted. In North America, eiderdown was originally preferred, but as eider duck populations dwindled during the 1770s, collectors turned to the auk, coinciding with ongoing hunting for various uses. As the species became rare, collectors increasingly targeted both adults and eggs, exacerbating the population decline. Egg collectors, knowing the eggs were not all laid at the same time, would make repeated visits to collect eggs. The collector typically kept only eggs without embryos, destroying the fertile eggs after collection. The last confirmed British sighting occurred in July of 1844, when 3 men on Sac and Armagh, St. Kilda, captured and eventually killed a single bird. This marks the only documented extinction of a British bird in historic times. The final Great Auk stronghold was Geirfuglastr, or Great Auk Rock, an island off the coast of Iceland which was lost to volcanic activity in 1830, forcing the auks to relocate to nearby Edley Island. When discovered in 1835, about 50 birds remained. but heavy collection pressure ensued. The last pair, along with their egg, was killed on Edley Island on the 3rd of July of 1844 to supply a specimen request, marking the extinction of the Great Auk.